Hello guys, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is T of the FTK Crochet brand and I am back with another tutorial. Today we are going to be making the tutorial for this beautiful summer shorts. I call it a summer shorts because the color of this yarn just pops, it screams summer, so that's why I'm calling it a summer shorts. I used the lemon peel stitch on this one and it is beginner friendly. It is a step-by-step detailed tutorial, so if you are new to crochet, this is something you can actually make for yourself or for a loved one. All right, so without further ado, let us get into today's tutorial. Okay, so for this project, these are the materials that you are going to need. You're going to need your yarn, of course. I'm using a 5-ply multicolored yarn. This is a cotton yarn, so this is what I'm using. This is 50 grams. So I do not know how many I will end up using for this particular project, but I'm going to be putting it on the description below so you know how many of these 50 grams I end up using. All right, so you're going to need your tapestry needle, you're going to need some stitch markers, you're going to need a measurement tape, very important, you're going to need a scissors, and on this one I'm going to be working with a 5mm hook size. All right, so let us get into it. Okay, so the measurement you are going to need for this one is going to be your hips measurements. All right, so you are going to take your hips measurements and the length that you want your short to be on. Like you already know, this is going to be a bump short, it's going to be very short, but you can decide to make your own longer if that's what you want. So make sure you take your own measurements so that you are working with your own measurements. All right, so for this one, the measurement I'm using for this one now, the hips is going to be 46 inches. Okay, so we are going to be starting with the band. So this band that we're starting with is going to be the inches you got from your hips, but don't worry, we are working vertically. Okay, so what you are going to do now, you start with making 10 chains. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. All right, so this is going to be the length of the band for me, but if you know you want your own length longer, you can actually go ahead to add more chains to yours. Okay, but me, I'm just going to be going with 10 chains. All right, so to begin now with the row 1, you are going to chain up 1, and on the next stitch you are going to skip that one. On the next stitch you are going to be going in there with a single crochet, and on the next stitch you're going to be going in there with a single crochet. So you are going to be working single crochet all across this chain. All right, and make sure at the end you are going to get the exact chain stitches that you made. Like you already know, I made 10 chains, so at the end of this chain I will make sure I have 10 stitches. Okay, so that's 8, 9, and 10. All right, so this is how the row 1 is looking. So to begin the row 2 now, you are going to chain up 1, turn your work to the other side. So on this very first stitch now, you are going to be putting in 1 single crochet on that stitch, and on the next stitch you are going to be doing front loops only. Okay, so when you turn your work like this, you see this middle here, you are just going to go to the middle and take just the front loops and do a single crochet. And that is what you are going to do on the next stitch as well. You are going to do it in the next 8 stitches, just the front loops only, just like this. And like I told you, make sure you are counting your stitches because you don't want one part of the band to be longer than the other one. So I started with 10 chains. I'll make sure that it's 10 stitches that I get all together. So now I've done 8 front loops only. So the last one now, which is the 10th stitch, I'm going to be doing the regular single crochet like I begin with, just like this. All right, so the beginning is going to be having a regular single crochet on the regular stitch, but the next 8 stitches is going to have just front loops only, like I explained, and on the last one you're going to do a regular single crochet just like we started with right here. Okay, so on the third row now you're going to chain up 1 and you're going to repeat exactly what you just did on the row 2. Okay, so you begin with a regular single crochet, and on the next stitch you do a front loops only. On the next stitch, a front loops only, until you get to the second to the last stitch. Then on the last stitch you are going to do a regular single crochet just like you begin with. Okay, 9, and on the 10th stitch now you're going to do the regular single crochet to end the row. All right, so the entire row now, the entire inches you got from your hips is what you are going to be doing on this band, repeating just the row 2. Okay, so exactly the row 2, that's what you are going to repeat for the length of the band. All right, so I'm going off camera now to do my own length, and I'll come back to tell you how many rows I end up doing and what we are going to be doing next. All right. Okay, so I'm done with my band and this is how it's looking. I ended up putting in 110 single crochets, so that is what gave me my 46 inches that I'm going for. All right, so this is how it's looking so far. And make sure when you are doing your rows of single crochet for the band, make sure you are stretching it out. Okay, so that's why I always advise put it around your hips so that you will know if that is where you are going to stop or if you want to continue adding more to your rows. All right, so I ended at 110 rows because this one, when I stretch it out, it gave me exactly 46 inches, which I'm going for the band. Okay, so the reason why we are doing it with the hips measurements is so we'll be able to wear the shirt past our hips. Okay, so when we are done with the whole short, we can either put an elastic band to snatch the waist, or we can use a string, which is a chain made and put in to drag it in. Okay, don't worry, when we get there you will understand that explanation better. Okay, so now the next step is going to be joining this band together because we are going to be working round on this project. Okay, so now to join, you are going to make sure that it is straight and then put it together on this part right here. All right, so now we are going to be joining from this side. See where we ended here. Now look at where the loop is. Okay, just watch what I'm doing carefully. Okay, so you are going to go into the stitch on this side, the very first stitch on this side, just like this. Okay, make sure it's the first stitch that you are picking, and then you're going to pull out the loop from the other side, just like this, to connect it together. Okay, and then you're going to chain up 1 and then turn your work to the other side. All right, so now we are going to be joining with a slip stitch. All right, so what you are going to do now, you're going to be taking this very first stitch. Now you're going to be doing a regular here like this. So you pick the very first stitch where you took the loop from, and you're going to do a slip stitch on that stitch, just like this. All right, so now the next one, you are going to be taking just the front loops only, just like we've been doing to create the band. Okay, so you take the front loops only from here, and then take the regular stitch from here, and you're going to do a slip stitch just like this. Okay, so go in with the front loops on the next stitch, go in on the next stitch on this other side, and do a slip stitch just like this. And on the next stitch now, go in with the front loop again. You remember now how we've been doing to create it. So go into the next stitch, because in the next 8 stitch now you're going to be doing the front loops slip stitch to join until you get to the very end of the band, and on the very last stitch you are going to be doing the normal regular stitch taking. All right, Okay, so we are at the end now. So this end part now, you're going to be going into the regular one. Please just watch what I'm doing. Into the regular one, and then pick the very last stitch right here, and you're going to do a slip stitch just like this. All right, and then chain up one. So as you can see, you see it all blended together. So this is how the joining is looking, but don't worry, this is going to be at the back, so you won't be seeing all that. So when you turn your work to the other side now, this is what you see. You see how beautiful it looks right here. All right, so now what you are going to do, you are going to be doing a single crochet on the bottom now. So that's going to be our next step. So we have already chained one, right? So now you are going to be turning your work to the other side, which is the front side now, here. Okay, so this is going to be our front. So on this same stitch now, you are going to be going in there with a single crochet. And on this next stitch, you're going to be going in there with a single crochet. So you are going to continue working single crochet all around this border right here. You work single crochet all around, and I'm going to meet you here when I'm done with mine. Okay, so I'm done with the border single crochet. I just want to show you how I end it here. So after putting in my last single crochet, just going to go in to this very first single crochet we started with here and do a slip stitch right here. All right, so if you remember, I told you I did 110 rows of single crochet right here. So my border single crochet gave me exactly 110 stitches as well. All right, so to begin the next row now, you are going to chain up one and then turn your work to the other side, because we are going to be going back and forth on the rows. All right, so on the next stitch here now, you're going to be going in there with a single crochet, and on the next you're going to go in with a double crochet. So we are going to be working the lemon peel stitch on this shorts. All right, so the next stitch you're going to be going with a single crochet, and on the next you're going to be going with a double crochet. The next stitch is going to be single crochet, and the next is going to be double crochet. So this is exactly what you are going to be doing all around this row. All right, so you're going to be doing one double crochet and one single crochet, one double crochet and one single crochet all around, and I will meet you here where we started from. All right, okay, so I'm at the end of this row, so I'm just going to be doing a slip stitch to end on this row right here. I had to put a stitch marker on my very first stitch so I do not miss the stitch. So it's a very good idea, if you have a stitch marker, just put it on that very first stitch so you know where your very first stitch is. Okay, so on that first stitch, you are going to be doing a slip stitch on that stitch to end on this row, just like this. All right, so the next step now, you are going to chain up one, then turn your work to the other side, just like this. All right, so we are going to be working this direction now, but this row 2 now, okay, I'm going to be calling this row 2, so we are not going to be calling the border single crochet row 1, so that is just going to be called the border single crochet. All right, so this now is our row 1 special. Okay, so this row 2 now that we're about to start is going to be our increase row. So what you are going to be doing now, you are going to count the stitches from here to these parts and make sure you mark the corner right here. Okay, and you are going to do exactly the same thing on this part as well, right here. Make sure it is the exact corner that you are putting it. Okay, make sure you count your stitches. I already did count my stitches, that's why you see me feeling all confident that this is where it's supposed to be. I already counted my own stitch. Okay, so because I have 110 stitches altogether, like you already know, I had to count 55 on this high, 55 on this side and 55 on this side. That is what gave me these two corners that I have here. Okay, the reason why we are putting stitch markers on the corners is because that is where we are going to be doing our increases. Okay, so now to begin this row, you are going to be going into the very first stitch here now with a single crochet. All right, so the previous row where you have the double crochet, you are going to be putting in a single crochet on that stitch. All right, and then use your stitch marker to mark your very first stitch so that you know where to end when you get here. Okay, and now you are going to be putting in a double crochet on the next stitch where there was a single crochet on the previous stitch, and you are going to be doing the same thing on this part as well, single crochet. So you keep alternating double crochet and single crochet, and now you're going to be going with a double crochet on the next stitch, single crochet, and then double crochet. So just make sure you are following the stitch so the pattern will come out very nicely. So as you can see now, where you have the double crochet in the previous stitch, you are going to be going there with a single crochet, and where you have the single crochet in the previous row, sorry, you are going to do a double crochet on that part. So keep alternating single crochet and double crochet until you get to the first stitch marker, which happened to be our very first corner, and I'll come back to show you how we are going to start our increase on these corners. Okay, okay, so I've gotten to the corner where the first stitch marker is, so we are going to be doing our first increase on this part. All right, so you're going to remove the stitch marker from here now. So this spot now happens to be where the double crochet is supposed to go into. So now that I've put my first single crochet here on this stitch now where the stitch marker was, I'm going to be going in there with one double crochet, and on that same stitch I'm going to be going in there with a single crochet, and on that same stitch I'm going to be going in there with a double crochet, just like this. So now you're going to put your stitch marker back in the middle. So the single crochet happens to be the middle stitch, so that is where you're going to put back your stitch marker. All right, so now the next stitch now happens to be the previous double crochet, so you're going to be putting in a single crochet on that stitch, and on the next stitch you're going to go in with a double crochet. So just continue alternating single crochet and double crochet on each of the stitches as you go, and when you get to this second stitch marker on the other side, I'll come back to show you how we do our increase here as well. All right, okay, so I've gotten to where the second stitch marker is, and I'm just going to remove the stitch marker from here, and this happens to be our double crochet stitch as well. So the previous row is a single crochet, so now we are going to be starting with a double crochet as well. So it's exactly the same thing that we did on this corner. That is what we are going to be doing here. All right, so yarn over and go into the next stitch now with a double crochet, and on that same stitch you're going to go in there with a single crochet, and on that same stitch you're going to go in there with a double crochet. And like we did in the other corner, go ahead and put your stitch marker on the middle stitch where you did the increase. All right, so now the next stitch is supposed to be for the single crochet, so we are going to be going in there with a single crochet, and on the next stitch a double crochet. So keep alternating as you go now until you get to the very end of the row. All right, until you get to the very end of this round, and I will meet you here. All right, okay, so I'm at the end of this round now. I just want to show you how I end it here. All right, so this first stitch where our stitch marker is now, you're going to remove the stitch marker from there and do a slip stitch on that very stitch to end this row, just like this. All right, so now to begin the next row, you are going to chain up one, then turn your work to the other side. So this row is not an increase row. We are going to be doing two rows now that is non-increase. All right, so on this very first stitch now, where we have the double crochet on the previous row, you are going to be going in there with a single crochet to begin the row, and then put back your stitch marker on the very first stitch so you know where your first stitch is. All right, so the next stitch, you're going to be going in there with a double crochet. The next stitch, you're going to be going in there with a single crochet. So one double crochet, one single crochet. So each of the stitches, one gets one double crochet and the next gets single crochet. So keep alternating like this with no increase on this row. So you are going 2 rows now without increase all around. So I'm going off camera now to make 2 rows without increase, and I'll come back to show you how we do the next increase. All right. Okay, so I'm done with my 2 rows of no increase. All right, so the next row that we're about to go into now, which is the row 5, we are going to be doing another increase on that row. All right, so to begin that row now, you're going to chain up 1 and then turn your work to the other side, just like this. So now you see on this next stitch where we have the previous double crochet, you're going to be going in there with a single crochet, and make sure you mark your first stitch so you do not make a mistake. And another pro tip is the fact that you are starting with single crochets, you are always supposed to end with a double crochet. All right, because that is what will give you the jump starts to begin with a single crochet. All right, so now on the next stitch, you are going to be going there with a double crochet, and on the next you're going to be going in there with a single crochet. So keep alternating until you get to this very first corner stitch marker again, and I'll come back to show you how we are going to be doing our increase right here. All right, okay, so I've gotten to the corner again, so we are going to be doing our increase on this stitch. So remove your stitch marker. So the stitch now happens to be the double crochet as usual. So you're going to yarn over, go into the stitch with a double crochet, and on that same stitch is single crochet, and on the same stitch a double crochet. All right, and make sure you put your stitch marker back on the middle stitch that happens to be the single crochet right here in the middle. Okay, so on the next stitch now, you're going to be going in there with a single crochet, and on the next stitch you're going to go in there with a double crochet. So it is the same alternating that you've been doing, so just keep alternating, one single crochet and one double crochet, one single crochet and one double crochet. Then when you get to this other corner here, do exactly what you just did here, the increase on this part, and keep alternating one single crochet and one double crochet, and I will meet you here when I'm done with my own row. All right, okay, so I'm at the end of the row and this is how it's looking so far. So to end on this row, you're going to remove your stitch marker from here and do a slip stitch on the very first stitch to end the row. All right, so now to begin the next row, the next row now is a non-increase row, so we are going to be going 2 rows without increase. Okay, so you're going to chain up 1, turn your work back to the other side. All right, so as usual, we are going to be starting with a single crochet, and then you are going to put your stitch marker on the very first stitch right there, which is that single crochet stitch we just made. All right, and then on the next we are going to be going in there with a double crochet. So it's just as usual what we've been doing, one single crochet and one double crochet on each of the stitches, but this time around we are not going to be doing any more increase on these 2 rows. Okay, so this is what you are going to continue alternating, one single crochet and one double crochet, one single crochet and one double crochet until you do 2 more rows. Okay, so now on after the 2 more rows, you are going to be going ahead again to do another increase, but that's if you want your own short to be wider. If you have a bigger hips, you just keep doing the increase just like that, the alternating increase. All right, so you do 2 rows now of non-increase, and on the next row, which is the 3rd row, you do your increase. So you keep doing that until you know you are satisfied with where you want your short to be. If you want it tighter, then you can just go ahead to do only 3 to 4 rows of increases on the hips area. But if you want it freer, then you can go ahead to keep doing more. Okay, and like I told you, this one I'm doing is for a 46. The hips is for 46, and now I'm still on 19. So I'll keep doing until I get 23 on this side. Okay, so I'm going off camera now to do the amount of rows that I need for the increase area, and when I get my 26 inches on the hips part, this part, I'm going to come back to show you before we continue. All right. Okay, so I'm done doing the rows of increase, and I ended up increasing in 6 of the rows. All right, so the person I'm making this for, like I told you, her hips is very big. All right, so I tried to do it so the short will not be too tight on her. That's why I had to go ahead to do 6 of the rows of increase altogether. You remember how I told you to alternate it? So 1 increase, 2 non-increase, 1 increase, 2 non-increase. So that's exactly what I did. So I did it until it is exactly 6 inches altogether. So now I have 6 inches and I'm not increasing anymore. All right, so from here on out, I'll just keep doing my regular non-increase row until I get 8 inches that I'm going for. And don't forget, I'm not calculating the band on its own. I only start calculating the inches from here to here. Okay, I'm not adding the band to it. Okay, so once you get 8 inches on this part, then I'll come back to show you how we are going to start the crochet area. All right. Okay, so I'm done with my rows, and as you can see, this is where I'm going to be stopping. So it's now time to work on the crotch area, but I ended up doing the 8 inches I told you I was going for. All right, so this is exactly 8 inches. All right, but if you want yours to be high waist, you can continue to add more rows, but I will advise that you wear it on your body or whoever it is that you're making it for, just to make sure that the rows right here now is okay for you, which is the 8 inches altogether plus the band. The band is actually 2 inches, so when you measure everything together, this happens to be 10 inches altogether. Okay, so now this is my own measurements that I'm going for. That's why I always preach that you should take your own measurements, so you know that you are working with your own size, with your own measurement. All right, so now the next step is going to be working on the crotch area. And for this crotch area, now what you need to do, you are going to be counting the inches from here now to this part and make sure it is exactly half. Okay, so like this one now, I have altogether 66 plus 66 inches, 66 plus 66 stitches is 132. I ended up making 132 stitches all around after all of my increase and everything. Okay, so what I did, I counted 66 on this parts and I counted 66 on this parts. All right, so this is where is going to be our leg one, and this is where is going to be our leg one. All right, so what you need to do now to know how many chains to make here, you are going to be taking the measurements here. First of all, you take around your thighs and see how big or how small it is. I hope you're seeing what I'm doing. Okay, so here now, when I stretch it out, I get 10.5 inches right here. Okay, so with this 10.5 inches on this part, it will give me 21 inches on this part, and the person I'm making for has a very big thighs. All right, like I told you, if our hips is 46, you can imagine how big our thighs is. Okay, so I already make my own measurement, so now I'm going to be making 22 chains. Okay, so make sure when you make your chains on this one, make sure you get an even number. Okay, so because you know we are working single crochets and double crochet, single crochets and double crochet, so you do not have a problem if you go get a different number. So with this large size that I'm working on now, I'm going to be doing 22 chains. But if you are going for a smaller size, you can make 20 chains. If you are going for a XL, maybe a bigger size, you can go for 24 or 26 chains. But for this particular size that I'm working on now, I'm going to be making 22 chains to create the border on the crotch area, okay, to divide the two legs. All right, so now let me fix this. Okay, so I'm going to be making exactly 22 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 and 22. Okay, so now that I have my 22 chains, I'm going to be connecting it to this other side where I have my stitch marker, which is the very middle on this part. Okay, so to join this part now to this part, what you're going to do, you're going to remove the hook from this chain. I hope you're seeing what I'm doing. Let me bring it down a little bit so you can see what I'm doing clearly. All right, so to join it now, you are going to remove the loop from this side now. Okay, and then you are going to put it on this part where you have the stitch marker right now. You're going to put your hook in there just like that, and then you're going to take the loop from here, okay, and then pass it through and then chain up one just like this. Okay, so now we have our connection, we have our border right here. So what you are going to do now, you're going to cut off this particular yarn, cut off this yarn, and then tie just like this. Okay, so now we have our border chain ready. All right, so now the next step is going to be working on the first leg. All right, so you are going to be reattaching your yarn on the very middle stitch right here. So you count from this stitch now, you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So since we have 22 stitches on this border part, the 11th stitch is going to be our first middle stitch, sorry. So on that very middle stitch, which is the 11th stitch, that is where you are going to be reattaching your yarn. The reason why we are doing it like this is so where we do the joining, you see all those seams will just be hidden under the thighs area. Okay, so now you are going to chain up one just like that, and now on the next stitch you are going to be going in there with a single crochet, and on the next stitch you are going to be going in there with a double crochet. The next stitch is single crochet just like we've been doing, and on the next stitch a double crochet. Next stitch, single crochet. Next, a double crochet. Next, single crochet. And on the next stitch, a double crochet. On the next stitch, a single crochet. And on the next, a double crochet. Okay, so I'm at the end of the chain stitch now. So what you are going to do, make sure you go back here and count it: 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11. Make sure that you have your 11 stitches right here, because this is going to be 11 and this part is going to be 11. All right, so now we are going to be connecting it to the body of the shorts. All right, so as you can see now, there is this space here. If you go ahead to just go in with a single crochet here, there will be a very big hole here. So what you are going to do, you see this tiny space here where you used to do the slip stitch, you are going to go into that little chain right here with a single crochet, but you won't finish it because we are going to be using it to do like a decrease. So now that you have 2 on your hook, you can now do your normal single crochet on the previous double crochet row on the body of the shorts. So now that you have 3 on your hook, now you can yarn over and pull out all 3. Okay, so as you can see now, there is no much hole on this part. When you wear the shorts, you are not going to be getting any hole there. Okay, so now the next stitch is going to be a double crochet, and the next stitch is single crochet, and the next a double crochet. So what you are going to do, you keep doing your alternating of 1 single crochet and 1 double crochet, just like we've been doing to create the shorts. And when you get to this part again, I'm going to show you how we are going to be doing the decrease right here to connect it back to the chain. Okay, so I've gotten to the parts where we need to connect it back to the chain, our border chain. All right, so now this is the last single crochet before the chain. What you are going to do now, we're going to be doing a decrease here just like we did on these parts. Okay, so now you are going to go into the single crochet right here and pull out a loop. So now that you have 2 on your hook, you are going to be going into the tiny chain right here. All right, and then you are going to pull out a loop. Now that you have 3 on your hook, you are going to yarn over and pull out all 3 loops just to connect it together. And as you can see, I had to put a stitch marker on my very first stitch here, which is the 11th stitch, so I do not make a mistake. All right, so since this one was a single crochet, the next chain stitch now is going to be getting a double crochet, just like this. All right, and then the next chain stitch is going to be getting a single crochet. Make sure this part too, you also get 11. Okay, I'm going to be using my own size to tell you. You know, I have my 22 chains and I did 11 on this side, so this part is supposed to have exactly the same thing the other side had, which is 11. So the next stitch is going to be a double crochet. That's 3. The next stitch is going to be a single crochet. That's 4. The next stitch is going to be a double crochet. Oh, it has started raining again. And the next is going to be a single crochet, and the next a double crochet. So you remember what we've been doing to create the body, so that's exactly what you're just going to be alternating: 1 double and 1 single, and make sure it is exactly the same stitches you did on this other side that you're doing here. All right, so now you're going to be doing a slip stitch on this very first single crochet stitch right here. You're going to do a slip stitch to end on this row right here, like this. All right, so now to begin the row 2, you are just going to chain up 1, then turn your work to the other side. So you remember we are going round and round. All right, so turn your work to the other side just like this, and you are going to begin with a single crochet. and make sure you put your stitch marker, so you mark your very first stitch right here. Okay, and now the next stitch is going to be a double crochet, and the next is going to be a single crochet. So you go ahead to keep alternating your single crochet and double crochet row all around. Okay, so it's the same thing that we've been doing on the body. So this time around you're just going to be working on the first leg. Okay, so it's exactly the same thing. When you go around, when you get to this part again, you turn your work to the other side, you start going around again until you are satisfied with the length of your shorts that you want. Okay, so I'm going off camera now to go create mine, and when I'm done with the length, I'll come back to show you how it's looking, how many I end up doing, and how we are going to be starting the second leg. All right. Okay, so I'm done with the first leg of the shorts, and this is how it's looking. So I ended up putting exactly 10 rows because, like I told you, the person I'm making it for wants it a bit shorter. Okay, but if you know you want yours longer, you can go ahead to keep putting in your rounds, no increase at all. Okay, so this is how the first leg is looking. So now the next step is going to be working on the second leg. All right, so let us get into that. So for the second leg is basically exactly the same thing you did on this first leg. That is what you're going to be doing on the second leg, because you cannot do anything different. It has to be identical. All right, so to begin this one now, you are going to be reattaching your yarn on the very middle right here where you did the reattachments on the first leg. All right, so you are going to be picking the very middle stitch. It will be easier to trace because of this long tail we left here when we reattach it the other time. All right, so you are going to be going into that stitch, and then you are going to chain up one, just like this. All right, so as you can see, this is the previous double crochet stitch. There you are going to be going in there with a single crochet stitch. All right, and now on the next stitch you are going to be going in there with a double crochet. And don't forget, you have to mark your stitch right here so you know your first stitch. There is no room for mistake. All right, so on the next stitch now you're going to be going in there with a single crochet, and on the next you're going to be going in there with a double crochet. This is a little tricky, so make sure you're looking at what you're doing. Okay, and make sure you're counting the stitches because we need to put exactly 11 on this part as well. All right, so we have 1 2 3 4 ready, and the next one happens to be a single crochet right here, and the next one happens to be a double crochet, and the next is single crochet, and the next a double crochet, and the next you're going to be putting in a single crochet, and the next is going to get a double crochet. Okay, so you remember that little trick we did here, so we don't have a very big hole on this part, so we are going to be doing it here as well. So you know this next space now is supposed to take the single crochet, so we are going to be going into this little stitch right here. We're going to do the decrease. Please just watch what I'm doing. Okay, I had to put the stitch marker here so I know where to go into. All right, so you're going to go into this little stitch right here, you do a single crochet but you won't finish it. Now that you have 2 on your hook, you go into the previous double crochet stitch on the body of the short, and that is where you finish your single crochet. Pull out the loop. Now that you have 3 on your hook, yarn over and pull out all 3 loops just to connect it to the body of the shorts. All right, so now the next stitch happens to be our double crochet, so you put in the double crochet, and the next stitch happens to be the single crochet, and you put in the single crochet. So just continue doing your alternating of 1 single crochet and 1 double crochet all around. All right, so this is the first row for the second leg. So what you are going to do now, to begin the row 2, you are going to chain up 1 and then turn your work to the other side. All right, so you are going to begin with a single crochet on the very next stitch right here, and make sure you put your stitch marker just to remember your very first stitch. And the next happens to be a double crochet, and on the next now you are going to be going in there with a single crochet. So you continue doing your 1 single crochet and 1 double crochet on each of the stitches all around. All right, so just this is exactly what you are going to be doing. What you did on this first leg is exactly what you are going to be repeating for the second leg. Okay, so I'm going to go off camera now to keep working my rounds back and forth until I get my 10 rows that I did here on this other side as well. So I'm going to come back to show you the finished result. All right, okay, so I'm done putting in the 10 rows on this other side as well. So this is how it is looking now. So the short is actually very ready. All right, so this is how the full thing is looking. So beautiful. All right, so the next step now is going to be putting an elastic band on the top here, but this elastic band is optional. You can decide to just make a string, a chain, and just put it into this part and tie it if that is how you want to use to snatch it. But me, I'm going to be working with this elastic. This is the elastic band that I'm going to be using. All right, so I'm going to go ahead now to actually put my elastic band on the top here, and I'll be right back to show you how it's looking. Don't worry, if you do not know how to add an elastic band to your crochet project, I have a video for that. I'm going to be putting the link on the description below, so you can go ahead to watch it if you do not know how to put an elastic on your own. I'm going off camera now to use this elastic band on mine, and I'll be right back to show you the finished results. All right. Okay, so I'm done putting in the elastic band on the shorts, and this is how it's looking. You see how snatched it looks now. So beautiful. And like I promised, if you do not know how to put an elastic band on your crochet project, I have a video and I'm going to be putting the link down below. Okay, so you'll be able to put your elastic band if that is what you want as well. So this is how the full thing is looking. The next step now is just going to go ahead to weave in all of my ends, and we'll be done with our shorts. All right. Alright, so with this we've come to the end of today's tutorial. I do hope you enjoy watching this video as much as I did making the video. If you do, make sure to like and share this video to your friends and family who wants to make something as beautiful as this. All right, and if you've not subscribed to my channel before now, make sure you do so now. You don't want to be missing out on all those beautiful tutorials that I post on here. All right. If you have any questions about this project, feel free to drop it on the comment section and I will be happy to help. All right, so until next time, bye bye.